confidence does not arrive in a dramatic breakthrough. It returns quietly, in small pieces, every time you stop arguing with who you already are. Most people think confidence is built by doing something impressive or proving something to the world. But vibrational confidence works very differently. It rises the moment you stop letting old thoughts talk over your inner being. It comes back when you decide that the voice within you does not need approval from the outside to be valid. When you want something deeply, like a relationship or a connection, you often believe that confidence must come first before the desire can manifest. But alignment always comes before confidence. Alignment is what makes confidence even possible. The desire launched from a place of clarity. You felt ready. You felt awake to the possibility. You felt the spark Abraham speaks about. That was the real you. The doubt that followed did not belong to you. It was only practice thought. This is why you can feel confident one moment and unsure the next. The desire rises. The clarity appears. You feel the pull forward. And then the mind steps in and begins evaluating the moment from the outside rather than the inside. Suddenly you begin thinking about what others will think, or how you will look, or whether you will be accepted. That is the only part that ever blocks anything. Not the desire, not the universe. Only the second guessing. Your inner being never second guesses. Your inner being never questions your worth. Your inner being never suggests that you should be quieter, smaller, or safer. You were born confident. You were born connected. You were born with the natural boldness of someone who knows they are loved and supported by a larger consciousness. There was a time when you looked at the world with no hesitation. You did not measure yourself. You did not compare. You simply followed the impulse of joy. That was your natural state then, and it is still your natural state now. Nothing has changed except the thoughts that were practiced long enough to feel normal. They're not permanent. They are not the truth. They are not your identity. They're simply habits. And habits can be softened. Habits can be rewritten. Habits can dissolve the moment you stop feeding them with attention. Shyness is often misunderstood. People assume it means insecurity or weakness. But vibrationally, shyness has a wide spectrum. Sometimes it means fear. Sometimes it means hesitation. Sometimes it means your energy is sensitive and you have learned to scan for safety before stepping forward. And sometimes it simply means you became too aware of how others might respond to you. But that awareness was learned. You did not arrive with it. No child is born shy. A child will announce themselves to a room without hesitation. A child will speak loudly, laugh loudly, and claim space with ease. That boldness is natural. That confidence is untouched. So when shyness appears later in life, it is not a flaw. It is only evidence that you have cared too much about the reactions of others. You began adjusting yourself to avoid judgment. You began dimming small pieces of who you are in the hope of being easier for others to accept. But your inner being does not dim. It does not shrink. It does not negotiate its own light. Your inner being stands in full confidence and full clarity at all times. If you feel anything less than that, it is only because you are thinking thoughts that do not match who you really are. The alignment returns the moment you begin thinking thoughts that feel better. The confidence returns the moment you begin practicing appreciation. Appreciation is the fastest emotional pathway back to who you really are. Appreciation is the emotional doorway to your natural confidence. Not forced confidence. Not practiced confidence. Not confidence that depends on how others behave, but confidence that comes from the simple awareness of your own value. You can soften resistance long before you take any action. You can speak gently to yourself long before you step forward. You can align vibrationally long before you meet the person you want to be with. When you do that, the confidence rises naturally. It does not need to be forced. It simply appears because you are no longer blocking it. If you want to feel confident, talk gently to yourself. Remind yourself of why you want what you want. Remind yourself of the clarity that launched the desire. Remind yourself that your inner being stands in full knowing of your worth. When negative emotion appears, do not push through it with force. Do not pretend you are not feeling it. Simply soften it. If you feel unsure, reach for a slightly better thought. If you feel self-doubt, reach for a word that feels kinder. If you feel unworthy, reach for a thought that feels like relief. Relief is enough. Relief is alignment beginning. As you soften the resistance, the desire begins rising again. You begin feeling ready again. You begin sensing the momentum of what you want. You begin feeling like the universe is already preparing the path for you. And when it comes to attracting a partner, the alignment matters more than any action you could take. You do not need to chase. You do not need to perform. You do not need to prove yourself. You only need to become a vibrational match to the version of you who already has what you want. It's a version of you who feels ease. The version of you who feels joy. It's a version of you who does not measure themselves through anyone else. Self-doubt comes from overthinking. Confidence comes from alignment. Alignment comes from appreciation. If you want to feel confident, practice appreciation until it becomes your emotional home. Appreciate small things first. Appreciate the weather. Appreciate colors. Appreciate the way your body moves. Appreciate the way your breath steadies you. Appreciate the little impulses that feel like guidance. Appreciate simple pleasures. Appreciation is easy because you are not trying to force anything. It gently lifts your vibration. It places you in the vicinity of your inner being. And from that place, confidence is natural. You will eventually feel confident enough to appreciate yourself. This is where everything begins to shift. Appreciation toward yourself is not arrogance. It is not ego. It is alignment. It is agreement with the opinion your inner being already holds of you. You do not need others to reflect that appreciation back to you. They might not. It does not matter. Their ability to see your value depends entirely on their vibration. If they are not aligned, they cannot recognize your beauty. They cannot feel your energy. They cannot appreciate your presence. Not because of you, but because of where they stand vibrationally. So do not wait for appreciation from others. Give it to yourself first. Let it rise in you. Let it soften the fear. Let it quiet the self-doubt. Let it remind you of who you were before the world suggested otherwise. Confidence is remembering yourself. Shyness is forgetting. Alignment is the return. You can also apply the same understanding to psychic abilities or intuitive abilities. These abilities do not require special training. They require connection. They require clarity. They require alignment. You do not need to reach for psychic skills. You only need to remove the resistance that blocks your natural connection. Every person has intuitive ability. Every person has access to guidance. Every person receives impulses. But only those who allow themselves to soften resistance can hear it clearly. Psychic clarity is not about effort. It is about ease. It is about joy. It is about living in the emotional frequency of appreciation. When you are there, you naturally receive insights. You naturally feel the next step. You naturally sense energy. You naturally understand people beyond words. So the practice is the same for everything. Desire it. Align with it. Allow it. Do not force. Do not push. Do not measure. Do not compare. Confidence grows from within. Alignment grows from within. Intuitive clarity grows from within. And when you are aligned, you do not need to ask for signs. You become the sign. You do not need to ask for validation. You feel the validation. You do not need others to choose you. You know you are already chosen. This is the emotional shift that opens the path for love. When you stand in confidence without forcing confidence, when you stand in appreciation without needing others to mirror it, when you stand in gentleness with yourself rather than criticism, when you stand in the frequency of allowing rather than proving, from that place the right person does not need to be summoned. They feel you. They sense you. They gravitate toward your steadiness. They arrive not because you chase them, but because you match the version of you who is ready for connection. You do not manifest love by performing. Manifest love by remembering that you are love. Confidence is remembered truth. Shyness is forgotten truth. Alignment is truth returning. You can choose appreciation at any moment. You can choose softer thoughts at any moment. You can speak kindly to yourself at any moment. You can remember your value at any moment. And each choice brings you closer to the version of yourself who is ready for love, ready for connection, ready for clarity, ready for everything you have asked for. Your inner being already stands in full confidence. Your inner being already stands in certainty. Your inner being already stands in unconditional love for you. Every time you choose a thought that feels even slightly better, you walk closer to that version of yourself. Alignment is not far away. Confidence is not far away. Love is not far away. It is already within you. The universe is always responding to the version of you that you practice most often. Practice the version of you who feels steady. Practice the version of you who feels hopeful. Practice the version of you who feels appreciation. and watch how the outer world shifts to match the inner vibration. Everything you want is already becoming. Everything you desire is already forming vibrationally. You do not need to push, you only need to allow.
Allowing
Becomes easy when you appreciate, when you soften, when you breathe, when you speak gently to yourself. Confidence is the natural result of alignment. Alignment is the natural result of appreciation. Appreciation is the natural result of choosing thoughts that feel better. You can begin right now. You can begin with one simple thought that feels slightly kinder. And that one thought will begin the momentum that leads you back to your natural clarity, your natural connection, and the version of yourself who is ready for everything you have asked for.